my people, the secret of Inec chairman is finally out. The secret of Mama Yakubu is finally out, as Seun of Channels Television and Rufai of Arise News have finally digged the secret of Mama Yakubu out, and this alone can land Mama Yakubu into jail. This was what happened in course of the election. Mama Yakubu have been hiding things from Nigerians, so Seun and Rufai have finally digged this out. You know, whenever they ask Inec chairman what happened in course of the presidential election result transmission, he always said that it was due to glitch. It was a glitch that occurred. Which glitch occurred, it wasn't precise, but Seun have finally digged things out now. Obedient, if you should see what really occurred, it will shock the lives. I would like guys to stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share this video, ensure you share it, let it go viral, let it go to different social media platforms. And if you can't share it, you can click the option of liking the video. Just like this video, give it a thumb up so that YouTube will recommend it for us. Obedient, stay connected. I'm coming back again.
Welcome you back to LAJUPOG Watch TV.
I don't have bad news for you today.
The home of religious gossip.
But you should leave the fight for Mohammed.
What is happening in the Christendom? Join now to make sense with LAJUPOG.
Hello my great and wonderful viewers, welcome you back to LAJUPOG Watch TV. For those of you coming across this channel for the first time, ensure you click the red subscription button on the video screen and do well to click the notification bell icon so that whenever we drop a new video in few hours time, YouTube will easily let you to know we are still on what is happening in the political zone. A lot keep happening in the political zone. You know, Inec chairman have been a topic of the day both on media and everywhere since when they conducted the election on the 25th of February. You know, a lot of things happened in course of the election. It's normally known that there were voters bullying, voters intimidation and all of that, and yet INEC still announced a winner of the election. You know, INEC chairman promised a lot of things before the election, most especially when he went to Chatham House. He promised a lot of things because of the election, something like he will transmit the result and everybody will be seeing it live in the day that they conduct the election precisely. He said the result will be transmitted live and everyone will see it. There will be nothing to hide. The election will be very transparent and it will be credible. But yet, when they conducted the election, INEC did otherwise, and this have been unpleasant to people, and a lot of people are not okay and they are aggrieved with the electoral result. Now, since then, INEC chairman have not come out to address everybody. He never come out to address anyone. They should invite him to television stations. He will send Festus Okoye, the national commissioner of INEC, to go and do the questioning and answering them. So that one have been the one going up and down, stammering whenever they ask him questions and all of that, because he did not have the right response to many of the questions. But INEC chairman have finally come out yesterday to talk about the whole issue, talking about the fact that he's going to prosecute people that are involved in the electoral malpractice and all of that. But a lot of Nigerians have been questioning him based on what he said yesterday, that if he is to prosecute anyone, he should first of all prosecute himself and bring himself to book. That was what Nigerians were saying yesterday. But that's not where we are going to. Where we are going to today is the fact that INEC chairman's secret have finally been exposed. What this man have been hiding since when they conducted the election, it has finally been exposed by Seun OKINBALOYE of Channels Television and OSENI of Arise News. They exposed INEC, and this alone can make INEC chairman to go to jail, because this man have been hiding things from Nigerians. He did not allow Nigerians to know what really happened in course of the election. You know, whenever they ask him the question that what happened, why is it that the presidential election result wasn't transmitted, INEC said that they encountered a glitch. And which glitch did they encounter? Nigerians have been asking them the questions all around different media. Which glitch did INEC encounter? Is it human glitch? Is it the fact that the engineers are not working fine? Or is it the fact that the beavers machine that they spend millions or billions of naira to buy wasn't working fine? Let us know, but INEC never let us to know. But Seun have finally dig things out. If you should hear what happened, if you see what happened in course of the election, you know, Seun OKINBALOYE of Channels Television and Rufai of Arise News have been one of the best journalists as far as Nigeria is concerned. And you know, a lot of politicians always avoid doing debates with them because they know that these two presenters and journalists, they are very intelligent and they ask intellectual questions in interview and in debates. So a lot of politicians always avoid them because they know that they can ask them questions that will make them to vomit all their secret. And that was what Seun and Rufai did in this very video. Inec official vomited everything that happened in course of the election unknowingly. He exposed the secret of Mama Yakubu, Inec chairman. So I would like you guys to stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share it to different social media platforms, and if you can share it, just like it, give it a thumb up so that YouTube will recommend it for us as I leave you to watch the interview. Stay connected. I'm coming back again.
So I think my reaction is clear. I don't know what the federal government was, or Mr. Dele Alake, I should say, was debunking about the report. It's obvious they didn't, or was rejecting about the report. It's obvious they didn't read it in detail. That report was explicitly clear. And again, kudos to the EU for a good job. Empirical facts and analysis. You see, it's obvious when they read reports like this, they should go and read the methodology. You know, part of the argument they made that Dr. Batieno stated yesterday was the fact that they said 11 analysts analyzed, you know, the reports and all of that. There were some parts of the report that needed analysis based on things that were taken from many sources. So take, for instance, you know, the report talked about how much if political parties spend on campaign online, which you can get those reports from Google AdSense. So those are the empirical facts out there. They also talked about, you know, for all of those that used to abuse Arise TV of bias, the report exonerated Arise TV. We gave 26% coverage to the APC, 26% coverage to the PDP, 19% coverage to Labour Party, which was one of the most balanced coverage. TVC gave 53% to APC coverage. 53%. So you see, facts don't lie, because there were a lot of shenanigans. And I'm saying this, that's why I had to ask our guest yesterday to provide empirical fact that Arise was biased. But thank God the report explicitly stated all of this. And only to crown it all, Mr. Festus Keyamo, a former minister, then a serving minister of the Federal Republic, and another former minister, Mr. FFK, were found to be the bastions of misinformation online. Yes. How low can our ministerial positions go in this country because of politics? So the report was empirically clear. And all the submissions it made were things based on interpretation that were out there. Talked about the violence that was reported. Talked about coverage. Talked about participation of women in politics. Talked about the dwindling numbers. Talked about the methodology at which he did it. Empirical analysis. But why is it that people that can't even take the pain to write their own reports are the ones that are quick to condemn reports? And there were recommendations there that if we want to go forward, follow what was simply written in the Ways reports.
Yes, we have the recommendations. Well, all right.
Guard citizens even more and do the same. You know, help ensure that polling areas are clean. Was there no violence? Talked about, we saw the violence that happened in Lagos and other parts of the country. Did not exonerate any party, gave blame to every party necessary. The report was even so detailed to the extent that the hashtags members of various political parties used, things like hashtag Tinubu, they talked about it, hashtag Obidiot, they talked about it, and how all political parties spread hate messaging. So it was not skewed to any political party.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
all political, both APC, Labour, and PDP, we all spread hate messaging.
Yes, it was.
And it cautioned them.
Yes.
And how WhatsApp, and we should be careful about WhatsApp. WhatsApp can be a dangerous tool if care is not taken. How WhatsApp was used to spread a great deal of misinformation. The report stated everything clearly, not slanted towards anybody. Yeah. And they said they rejected, people reject
well, Festus Keyamo was trending on social media yesterday. Let me take a tweet from JP, I believe. He wrote, breaking, Festus Keyamo and Fani Kayode made it to page 92 of the EU report for spreading fake news on social media. EU took a screenshot of Mr. Keyamo's fake news tweet. This is a huge embarrassment to the legal profession. ASAN, spreading fake news on social media. Now I know why he has been wailing since the report came out.
How difficult is that, this kind of period? This is perhaps the first time we're seeing INEC chairman come out publicly to speak to Nigerians about the election. And this is his own assessment, or the commission's assessment. There's a EU assessment, and those who are talking, the government of the day had denied and disowned what the EU had said. But how difficult is it coming out several months after the election?
Well, first and foremost, we should commend the chairman for speaking so forcefully and so clearly. I would say for the first time, since the election. Clearly, this is kind of statement, presentation that a lot of Nigerians would have expected, given the challenges that occurred during the election. Some of those statements would have been made promptly as those challenges were made. And of course, because waiting very long to make comments about that would have been playing into the hands of the court, and then it would have been used against INEC. So I commend him for this statement that I just made, today. On the issue of electoral offenses, it has been a turning issue for INEC, for the electoral system in Nigeria. People have been calling since the time of the Justice Uwais report that we set up an independent commission, to take into account this issue of electoral offenses. So
do we really need that?
Well,
because there are those who will say INEC is there. The police, which has somewhat kind of omnibus role
the reason
to prosecute any kind of offense.
The reason why people think we need, because INEC is saddled with too many things for which it doesn't have the competency to do.
And there are those who will criticize that even the ones that INEC promised failed in it.
Well, I will not align with such people who will say that. You have to look at things very critically. I know people who are playing to the social media space will say all manners of things. When it talks about the failure of INEC, we must look at it within what the law allows INEC to do and not to do. So you must tell me, and I believe that clearly INEC, there are issues out there, the issues of reputational damage which has occurred to INEC clearly.
How bad do you think this reputational damage
I think it's pretty bad, and the reason is mostly because it's being fanned by the social media, really.
Is it? Yeah, based on what was also said, because there are those who say INEC should be held accountable, not for what they did not promise, but what they promised. What they said they were going to do, and what they failed to do.
I think they are a bit unfair, but again, we're looking at perception. They're a bit unfair in the sense that you have to hold INEC accountable for what the law permits INEC to do. Did INEC break any law, really? What is the Electoral Act of 2022 that says INEC must do this and INEC failed to do that? So we must start from there, because INEC must comply with what the law asks us to do. But it could have been the exuberance of the leadership of INEC to have made promises beyond his capacity. Clearly, he's suffering the damage to his reputation by such outlandish promise. Clearly, I think that.
You think those promises were outlandish?
I think they were outlandish because they're not in the law. Nobody asks INEC to go there that you must do this in live and submit it as it is happening. It is not in the law. So for you to make that promise and go after the shore of Nigeria to make such promises, you are putting yourself up for a lot of risk, and you can see the outcome of that. So people are happy that as if that was a requirement for declaration of results. It was not a requirement, clearly. No.
But was the election a good election?
Well, if you ask me, I have to look at it in terms of elections that have happened in the country historically. When you look at it historically, honestly, what happened in this election are a bit mind-boggling on the positive side, in the sense that there were many things that happened that couldn't happen in the past. People you expect to just win easily because they are the incumbent, they lost. So many people, ordinarily, there is a free ticket to go from being a governor to go to the Senate in Nigeria. It's not a free ticket, you don't even have to contest. But you see many of them who contested, at least half a dozen of them contested, they lost. That is a serious thing. And then you see a number of parties. Was a multi-party election took place, and many multi-parties won, and they are in the State House Assembly, they are in the National Assembly, they are in the Senate.
Is that a reflection of?
It's a reflection of a good election. It's a reflection of a good outcome. Doesn't mean that there were no challenges which are very contentious, which have affected, damaged the reputation of INEC clearly, and they have to dig themselves out of this hole. And I think the leadership has a responsibility to bear as far as that's concerned. But in terms of concrete, measurable outcome, these are indices that have never happened in the electoral space in Nigeria. And we must accept it and grab it as a way to move forward.
There are those, I mean, for some of us who have followed and monitored activities of election observers, and the EU came and became a sensational one. Some of us would describe it as sensational because EU's report is perhaps a replica or a copy of what a lot of the local observers have actually observed. In fact, there are those local observers or Nigerian observers that have done more intense work than what the EU had done, and they've done it several weeks since after the elections. But if you look at the EU report, I don't know if you have read it or if you've studied it, do you think it was a report that INEC should be considering?
Well, there are many ways to look at the EU report. Yeah, of course, INEC must consider all reports, and all reports must know that they have their biases. They're coming from a particular standpoint, whether it is EU, whether it is the African Union, which have their own. You must compare that too, because those are our own people. I don't want to say that EU is irrelevant, but those are closer home than the EU are. But the EU must also look at their report vis-a-vis what happens in their own countries, in their own politics, in their own parties, in their own elections in their country. You know, so you cannot use a different standard. And some of the things that EU, I've read the report, they measure, like issue of violence. You can't hold INEC accountable. You cannot hold INEC responsible for marginal representation. Women are not participating. I mean, I don't understand. So some of all these things are just heuristic kind of claims by EU. I mean, those are standard in their own country. Is that what happens?
But as a people, should we be bothered about EU anyways, or their own report? I'll probably focus on something, some other reports.
No, we should bother about all reports. We should take them and try to sift out things that are relevant and throw away the nonsense that may be contained in those reports. That's the way I would look at it. Everything is not that bad, but a few good things that will be there. The issue of youth participation, the issue of gender representation, they're very good issues. We must find a way to make them part of our electoral law so that they make sure that everybody is covered, no particular group is marginalized. So in that sense, pushing that envelope is a good thing, but doesn't mean that they should come here. I don't want to sound as if I'm against EU, really, but really they shouldn't. They must look at things they prefer to vis-a-vis what happens in their own country.
Within the cultural milieu of our space,
of our space.
Yeah, I mean, without sounding condescending at all, I mean, there are those who are anti any colonialist tendency, any Western or European culture trying to breathe down on whatever practices, I mean, that we have here in the country, and look as though we've been here for 200 years practicing this democracy, and that look, like the popular saying, let the poor breathe. Let Nigeria breathe for a moment, in the sense that this is young, but again, we also need to internalize and look within ourselves to say, where did we get it wrong and how can we get it better? First and foremost, as Nigerians, we need to hold INEC also accountable, because it's our own. And we have paid so much to make sure that INEC is where it is today. And perhaps the reason why some people are so agitated about what INEC said and what they did not do. For you, with the benefit of hindsight, what is that one thing that INEC did that you think that, with the benefit of hindsight, now looking at it from, you know, what has happened, what do you think is one thing that INEC did that you think maybe they shouldn't have done it?
Well, one thing they shouldn't have done, and I put this squarely on the leadership, is to make promise that was unwarranted. It's more like bravado promise. I mean, in a political situation like this, where there are a lot of uncertainty and, you know, minds all around the field, you don't make such promises. I think the INEC leadership overpromised what was not required for it to promise. To say that elections, I mean, results will be transmitted live, so you can go there and see it as it is being transmitted. That was not
it was for transparency.
I mean, for whatever reason it was, but the point is that you have to look at our own environment.
They tried it out in Osun. They tried it out in
people were not interested, but this is national election now. This is where everything comes together. They tried those things in the US. You saw what happened. They were hacking the USL. So how many people do you have in INEC? I worked in INEC. I know the ICT guys, good ladies that I work there. They're not as resilient to be able to rise up to the challenge of if their system is being hacked. I'm not making that this is what happened, because INEC has not told us what happened, even though they need to tell us, but they cannot say it now because everything is in court, because to be held against them. But the staff there don't have that kind of skill, competencies and technology to be able to respond to any manner of disruption technologically. Just few guys that are there. So talk about advanced countries like the US, they were struggling, and then you talk about Nigeria. How are they going to rise to it? So the issue of over-promising damaged the reputation of INEC. That should not have happened. I should just stick to what the law say INEC should do, and stick to make sure they do that. And the law is very clear. You don't declare with IRA, you don't declare with beavers. It is still a manual process of collation, following the collation procedure from polling units to the ward, to the LGA, to the state, and then to the national level.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you again imagine that the duty of INEC, and they say he who come to equity must come with clean hands.
Yes.
So INEC wants to conduct an election and says, look, we are going to make it transparent. There's nothing to hide, and all of that. And there are those who are already saying that maybe we need to tinker with our laws, electoral law 2022, and start looking into some areas that fail. That
what is the measure of transparency? What are the indicators of transparency? I mean, elections are conducted at every polling unit. In every polling unit, INEC make provision for every stakeholder to have a representation at every polling, over 170,000 polling units across the country. So every party has a representative there, a polling agent. And they saw the votes being counted, they were counted, and they were all giving copies of the result. What can be more transparent than that? You have a copy you take home to your party to show this is what happened at the polling unit where you were assigned to. Can it be any more transparent than that? So the fact that they went on this tangent, the chairman of the leadership went on this tangent about over-promising that they are going to deliver this as it is happening live in a country like ours with all this.
So you imagine that IREF is not stipulated in the law. That's what you say.
Yeah, clearly that is my understanding. It is not there.
But Vivas is captured.
Yeah, but it's a technology cover. But
the law actually said, the Constitution says INEC should conduct the election and make any guideline as it deems. The electoral law also almost repeated what the Constitution says, gives INEC the power. Anything that INEC then do or say or put together becomes binding. So if they say they want to capture the election by and put the result out through the IRF, it's binding because that is how the Constitution says it is whatever they deem fit.
The Constitution, the collation process is very outlined. Formats, one stage to the other, the provision of agent, those are in the Electoral Act. They are there. And that
from EC8, from EC9,
all those
EC8A, and all those things are clearly stated.
Those steps are clearly stated.
And so those are the things we should hold on.
That is transparent. INEC has ensured, I'm not here to defend, I'm not working for INEC, but INEC has ensured that parties have the opportunity to bring their agent to witness what happened and to obtain copies of those results at each level. So you obtain your copies. If the copies are different, the matters will be arising.
But if there is something that needs to be done urgently to really make things better, after all said and done, what would that be?
Well, it will be difficult for me to pinpoint a particular thing, and I think this is going to come out from the review that INEC is going to do. And I'm just hoping that this review this time will go beyond the routine, review, because the review now is mostly internal, in which we are looking at both the report writing as well as the people to be consulted, the key stakeholders.
And the chairman is also saying that there are a lot of people that have been identified, INEC staff and all that have breached the process.
Yeah, that is going to be part of it. They will come out in the review. It will also be reflected in the report that will be written. But I expect that we'll go beyond the normal review.
Thank you for staying connected, my great and wonderful viewers. I believe you really enjoy what Rufai OSENI of Arise News TV, what he said, and what Seun OKINBALOYE of Chinese television, what he too said in course of his own interview. Let's start from what Rufai said. European Union come to Nigeria to come and observe Nigeria election, and all they notice is the fact that Nigeria election is not up to standard. They saw the bullying that took place in course of the election. They saw the voters intimidation. They saw videos of where thugs were hijacking banner buses and where thugs were bullying people. If you are not voting for APC, go back to your house. And they saw where thugs were attacking people in different polling units all across Nigeria, most especially in Lagos State. So they saw all these videos videos is circulated on media, most especially on Twitter. So the international observers, the European Union, saw all these things and they make it among their reviews. So they write it among their reviews that they give to Nigeria election, and by so doing they rate Nigeria election as nothing, that the election is nothing to write home about. So they listed out the names of ministers, you know, Keyamo, Festus Keyamo, and FFK, Fani Kayode. They listed their names out that Keyamo and Fani Kayode are big disgrace to Nigerian politics. Highly reputable ministers that were looking up to, their names came out as people that are spreading fake news all across Nigeria. You know, Keyamo spread the fake news of the fact that Peter Obi paid $2 billion to religious leader just for them to promote him and vote for him and all of that and campaign for him, and which is a lie. Keyamo told that lie. So the European Union stated that out, that Keyamo and Fani Kayode, they are big disgrace to Nigerian politics because they were doing all those things just to have the attention of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, just for Tinubu to have them in mind, just for whenever he enters as president of Nigeria, so that I can put them in the ministerial position. That is why Fani Kayode and Keyamo were doing all those things. So the European Union listed them out, and it is a disgrace to Nigerian politics. So that was what Rufai was saying. And they also speak about the fact that Arise TV is biased, that Arise TV only promotes Labour Party and all of that. They only talk about Labour Party. But when the European Union graded everything, they said Arise TV promoted Labour Party 90%, they promoted APC 26%, they promoted PDP 26%, which is balanced. That was what Rufai was saying. But TVC, Tinubu station, because we believe that it is Tinubu that owns TVC, TVC promotes APC 56%. Where on net are they doing that? More than half. TVC never promotes all other stations. TVCs are very biased, according to report, according to what Rufai said in this video, and according to European Union Observer mission. Now, taking you down to Seun OKINBALOYE interview, you know, Seun asked that INEC, former INEC National Commissioner, he asked him intellectual questions, and that man fell. He did not know. He had finished falling before he discovered that he fell. Seun asked him critical and intellectual questions. The man vomited everything. You should hear what he said in that video. Let me point your eyes to a few things that the man said in that place. He said, INEC tech guys, they are not that capable, that if US are doing elections with the beavers and all of that, or playing to their IRM and all of that, and hackers are still hacking, penetrating into US election, this thing, how much more INEC tech guys, that INEC tech guys, they are not as capable as US tech guys. He said INEC tech guys, if hackers should penetrate into their server, there is nothing they can do at the moment. They are not as smart as US tech guys. He said even when US was conducting election, hackers hijacked their portal, but when hackers hijacked the portal, they rectify it after time. But I think it was during the electoral time. But he said it happened in Nigeria here. That was what the man said. Be conscious of what he said. He said it happened during our election here, that we can't expect INEC tech guys, that he knows few of them, that they are not that capable, that we can't expect them to just control the occasion where hackers hijack INEC portal, meaning that it was hackers that hijacked INEC portal. That was what the man was saying. The man had finished making the statement before he controlled himself, before he knows that he had vomited the secret of INEC chairman. And we asked INEC chairman the question as Nigerians. We said, what happened in the course of the election? He said it was due to glitch. Which glitch are you talking about? Is it human factor or a machine factor? It wasn't precise. He hid that one from Nigerians. But this man has exposed everything due to the questions that Seun asked him. This man vomited everything. So we have now known that it was human factor that affected the election in cause of what this man said. It was due to incompetency of INEC technologists that affected the 2023 presidential election, according to what this man said. You can go through the video again, you can go through the statement of the man again. You will see all these things that I'm saying. I'm not the orchestrator of all these things. So then, what do you guys think? I want you guys to drop your opinion at the comment section of this video. What do you think? Seun and Rufai are doing a very great job as far as Nigerian media is concerned. These two presenters and journalists have been the best presenters that we've ever had in Nigeria so far. They are the best. They ask intellectual questions. They are not like other journalists that ask questions that is not beyond their nose. These guys ask questions that will make you to crack out your brain and you will vomit everything you know about the occasion. So drop your opinion in the comment section of this video as I'm gonna do that trend for you. Ensure you follow me on my social media handles on Facebook at LAJUPOG Watch TV and at LAJUPOG Entertainment, and you can as well follow me on Instagram at LAJUPOG. Guess what, guys? See you in my next video. Goodbye.
I see the hot for my body, I say make I yarn you. Religious gossip plenty day for body. Pastor with the line on top, he pastor for LAJUPOG Watch TV. Pastor with the back, where politician with the do pass himself. All the why you waiting for church? All as LAJUPOG